Welcome to the Beasts of the NFC EAST. I'm your host, Sean Gnitzcavich, with my co-host, Jeremy Goode. Jeremy Goode, what is good, Jeremy?
Professional football, not a good week for either of us. Collegiate football,
Fair.
Alabama has a huge win against Georgia, which has sort of rode me throughout the weekend into the week. So it kind of lessens the Eagles a bit, but not too much because you're still diehard with the Eagles and just a miserable performance in Tampa Bay. We'll get into it, but 4 weeks in, slow starts from a lot of teams in the NFL. We'll get into it for a little review, but yeah, the NFL's been different since the last 5 to 7 years, in my opinion, and starts maybe because of one less preseason game, but offenses have been a little slower. I don't know about your opinion, but it's been interesting to see some lower numbers throughout the boards this year and last year too, but especially this year.
I mean, passing yards, touchdowns, explosive plays.
Yep.
There's been a lot more running. I mean, think about the powerhouse game between the Ravens and the Bills on Sunday was decided mostly on the ground with Derrick Henry, who, by the way, is not washed. Sorry, Titans fans. You guys probably can still – hey, but at least you got your first win with Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. Looks like the Rookie of the Year is going through the NFC East. At least the Offensive Rookie of the Year is going to the NFC East, with the top two candidates on the Commanders and Giants, respectively. But yeah, we're going to cover all of the Week 4 games, do a little fantasy recap, and then preview Week 5. But with that being said, anything you want to get into before we get into these Week 4 games, Jeremy?
No, it's interesting how it's unfolded so far. We'll get into it, but just thinking about the NFC East specifically, it's Washington's just been an interesting team this year.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get into it, but I don't think anybody thought that Washington would be at the top of the NFC East. I mean, even though this is somewhat,
it's early, but
4 games in, it's early, but but also not only that, but the Commanders' offense looks like the best offense in the NFC East, which also is kind of a shocker. There's a lot of hate towards Cliff Kingsbury and doubt of how
I remember.
Offense. And I mean, you do have to remember he did have the Cardinals start 10-0, I think, in one of his years over.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like he's completely inept as a play caller.
I don't like Cliff Kingsbury as a head coach, but I've always said, if as an offensive coordinator, as an offensive mind, college, NFL, I'm okay with it. I mean, he's an interesting guy. I get that my teams were kind of off him as a OC, but I was always interested in him. I don't know if I would have picked him ultimately, but his offensive doesn't work. Head coaching's a lot, but OC with his schemes, they work, especially now because we're seeing that with Kellen Moore's schemes with the Eagles, it doesn't seem to work as much. But we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Might as well start off with
a lot of factors. Let's just get the Thursday game out of the way, just because it was early.
Yes.
So Thursday night football, prime time. The Dallas Cowboys march into MetLife and win 20-15. And while it was a sad and disappointing loss for the New York Football Giants, at least we weren't embarrassed on prime time. And at least I didn't give up at halftime. At least we were in it the entire game, but still, as a Giants fan, it's sad. It's sad that you're resorting to being well, we lost, but at least we didn't get completely embarrassed.
All right. Like that you admit that, yes.
Yeah, no, it's sad. It's sad, but it is a benefit, I guess, just for my enjoyment, because I live for these games week by week, and when you're blown out, you waited all year last year, and the game was over. I feel like after the second drive, the Giants were in it the whole time, and the Cowboys turned some things around. The two factors that I thought would get the Giants to destroy the Cowboys, or at least put up more of a fight, was being able to run against their terrible defense, their run defense, which was the worst in the league, almost
oh yeah,
just shocking. And then Mozzie Smith has a career turnaround, and he looks like he was the player that they drafted in the first round. And not only that, the Giants had 26 rushing yards. 26 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And just couldn't get it going. That honestly wasn't the biggest deal, but also, I mean, Rico Dowdle gashed us. on the ground. Not really. Didn't gash us. I mean, he had 46 rushing yards, but he also had a receiving touchdown on a little screenplay. Yeah, it's just I'll tell you what, I think their defense stepped up. Like, you saw Eric Kendricks all over the field. You saw DeMarvion Overshown all over the field. Malik Neighbors looks amazing. I think he'll be fine with the concussion for next week, but continues to put up unbelievable numbers. CeeDee Lamb finally gets involved with the Cowboys. He seems happy. Like, this whole game was kind of a battle of the playmakers, I feel. And the Giants just came up short. Even though the Giants got Malik Neighbors more involved than CeeDee. CeeDee Lamb was more effective in the long run.
Found the end zone.
Yeah. It's just especially because, like, we should have taken more advantage of their cornerback situation and like Andrew Booth start off the game, like Malik Neighbors shakes him out of his shoes for an explosive play, but also, I mean, I don't know if you saw that throw, but like Daniel Jones kind of threw a floater. Like, yeah, that was a gimme. Like, yes, we completed a 40-yard play. Awesome. But I almost feel like if he hit him more in stride, like that would have been a touchdown to the house. And that seems to be one of the biggest issues. Like, Daniel Jones had a really efficient game, and I feel like it's really polarizing amongst Giants fans. Like, well, he played a really good he played a good game. He didn't really make that many mistakes. The biggest knock, he can't connect deep. There is an offside, like a classic Aaron Rodgers play where he should throw a touchdown essentially. There's like a wide open, I believe it was either Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt, and he just underthrows him.
Yeah.
And that seems to be like he's missing all these deep balls by like 3 or 4 yards. Like, it just doesn't even look like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. That's something that needs to be fixed. But like, I'll tell you what, at least he knows how to get the ball to Malik Neighbors. And then play design, like, if it's not Malik Neighbors, it's been Wan'Dale Robinson. And Wan'Dale Robinson, Bobby Skinner had this great stat about Wan'Dale Robinson because he had 11 catches for 71 yards. Let me just pull it up here. This is, so Wan'Dale caught 8 passes for 50 yards on 9 targets on third down against the Cowboys. That was on third down. They only converted 2 of those 9 third downs, and both of the conversions were caught 4 yards behind the first down marker. And that seems to be like a running trend. Like, yes, Wan'Dale has that yak ability, and I guess they scheme it so that like he's open, because he'll be open, in front of the first down marker, and then he'll try. But like, I don't love that play call. Like, get him the ball past the sticks so that we can get the first down. It's like they're kind of inflated numbers, like it's and they're kind of fake numbers in a way. Kayvon Thibodeau.
If you really look into those numbers too, 11 catches for 72 yards. What is that? Six and a half yards per catch. Not like those numbers say a lot too. Those are real numbers. You want it to be higher, especially with his speed, with his abilities downfield to make a play. 6.5 for him is and for such a large number of catches too. Bigger for 11.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, the Cowboys come on top, but also if you're the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think this is the turnaround game where now you're like, okay, season's saved.
Right.
Like, you probably don't think very highly of these New York Football Giants. Not many people do. And to only beat us by 5 points, in a game that was close.
Dallas didn't play well either.
No, they
just were able to. They just were able to get touchdown.
Well, their defense also. Yeah, that was the difference. We weren't able to score a touchdown, and as close. At least Greg Joseph finally hit some field goals, unlike last week. And Brandon Aubrey actually.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. He did miss one.
Yeah,
and that was a cover too.
Yeah, that was the cover. Because I think by the time it was game time, it was actually at +5 for me. But of course, me feeling so great about the Giants, I took us money line, so that didn't really work out. But yeah,
you're not the only one.
Yeah, I just I know that like the Cowboys stopping the run finally isn't the biggest deal, but I can't help but think if we still had somebody like Saquon Barkley, like Devin Singletary, I love, and he's been
Yeah,
really efficient in these first 3 weeks, but like he's not that explosive back. He's not like
right.
still. I mean, he's like 5'8". Like he gets those yardage that you need, but like he averaged 1.7 yards per carry. Like he just couldn't get anything done against the biggest weakness for this Cowboys teams, which I think would have paced out the game a little better and probably given us a better shot at winning. Uh,
Maybe.
Tyrone
Yeah.
Tracy, yeah, and Tyrone Tracy too. Tyrone Tracy, I I had such high expectations for him. Still, it's 4 weeks into the season, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be the sleeper fifth round pick running back like that I was expecting. He even had
Mm,
like a nice catch that was called back on a holding play, but he also didn't get both feet down. That would have been
yeah.
a good play, but yeah, just
Yeah. The problem, I think the problem with Singletary as a whole is if you shut him down, it's not necessarily hard if you really focus on it because I don't think he's a premier. I don't think he's a bell cow running back. I don't think he's a every down back. He's in that role. It's just tough to get anything going on the ground if he's bottled up at his size. Uh, and I think you're exactly right with Daniel Jones, Sean. He didn't play badly. He played well, but and he didn't make many mistakes. The or quote unquote the mistakes he made were not making the extra play, not converting
yeah,
on several throws, not like playing well, but not playing great when he had to, not getting those passes completed downfield, missing receivers. So it's tough because you don't even know what he was if he could even do the bare minimum going into the season. It seems like he can, but he's also not winning games too when he's playing well, which is an issue. I mean, I think it's the
yeah,
indicator that you have to move on just because I think that just shows that he's not good enough, which is good for the Giants in my opinion because you could just move on and you can say that you fully tested him to see what he's about. He has some abilities, but at his best, he's just not good enough to play quarterback and to win uh, at a consistent level.
yeah. I mean, listen, this is kind of like even when we gave Daniel Jones the contract, it was kind of like this is his safety. Like he's safe. It wasn't like he was playing at a superstar level. Like he didn't turn over the ball in 2022. I think he had the least amount of
Right.
interceptions. Um, and he was efficient, and he won some games and impressed in some games. But he was also able to get
Hmm.
more downfield throws to Darius Slayton. Although we've been a lot more explosive this year, it's
Yeah.
like these 20-yard passes. Like Malik Neighbors is tied in the league with big plays of 20 plus yards with 7. But that's also some of
Mm.
those are yak plays too. They're not like all air yards.
True.
Um,
Yeah.
But it's funny because I was watching this game with my friend who's a Patriots fan, and he's like, "You got to get a Jacoby Brissett. You got to get a bridge quarterback." I'm like, Daniel Jones is a bridge quarterback. Daniel Jones
Yeah.
is like essentially Jacoby Brissett. I think he's better than Jacoby Brissett too,
More
in
or
all
less. Yeah.
honesty. But I mean, does that get him maybe one more year if we even draft a quarterback as a bridge quarterback? I don't know because I feel like it might be awkward in that locker room too. Like
Yeah.
and I feel like if Daniel Jones has a week one like he had this week or this year, I think they'd be calling for the rookie to get put in immediately too. But I mean, our O line and the big story I think with the Cowboys here is Micah Parsons getting hurt and Demarcus Lawrence getting hurt because like our O
Hmm.
line held up against like a Dallas Cowboys defense that we typically struggle with. But yeah, that's kind of the big worry here for the Cowboys, especially with like their secondary. I feel like still having Micah Parsons and Demarcus Lawrence is kind of made up with their dealing with Kalen Carson and now Andrew Booth and uh, Amani Oruwariye as your cornerback too. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I don't, it's one of those games that you just feel mad with. Like I'm not like
Yeah.
terribly devastated as a Giants fan, but it's just like that was our chance to finally beat Dallas. Like they're
Right.
dealing with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence out, and a joke at cornerback too, and instead you get picked off by that joke at cornerback too as their third string or fourth string option with Amani Oruwariye. But just that's how
Not
I
the
feel.
I mean, you just gotta convert on offense a little bit more, and both teams honestly, but yeah, the Dallas was able to muster just a little more on the grounds, able to shut down the Giants on the ground. Tough for Daniel Jones to then have to pick it up solely with his arm, knowing that they don't have much going on the with the run game. Yeah, it's a tough place because as an outsider looking in with Giants fans like yourself, it's another week where you're competitive, which seems like a rock bottom thing, but at the same time, it's like last year was so brutal. You got to think that these games are hopefully helping going forward against other teams because Dallas is a special team in a way because division rivals, they've had your number, they know you guys pretty well. Hopefully that if you take anything out of it, the closeness and competitiveness, but it can go forward against other teams. But yeah, I don't know. Like in terms like it's good, I guess, because you're staying relevant in a competitive standpoint, but it's the same outcome every year. Dable, I guess, I don't know. I don't know how much time he has left. Daniel Jones too. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's fair because Dable hasn't. Maybe if Dable gets to pick his quarterback, but at the same time, he hasn't really done an amazing job with Daniel Jones developing over a few years. So I don't know. More for you to say, Sean.
yeah. I think on a lot of people's hot seat lists, there's three NFC East coaches, and it's Mike McCarthy, Brian Dable, Nick Sirianni. And honestly,
Yeah.
out of those three, okay, out of those three, I believe that Brian Dable was probably the safest because he's been dealing with the least amount of talent and getting the most out of it. Think about all those wins he got with Tommy DeVito last year. And I think a lot of Giants fans
Yeah.
agree. I think they want to give some time to Dable and let him pick his quarterback. Like, I mean, dude, he was salivating over Jayden Daniels. Obviously, there is no way the Commanders were going to trade out of that spot. But
Right.
I think Jayden Daniels was our quarterback one, to be honest. I think we wanted Drake May too. Haven't seen anything from him, but at least we were smart enough to pass up on. I mean, and it's still early in the season, but like Bo Nix, I think had at half he had -7 passing yards, and he beat the Jets. But
Yes. I
like
saw that.
yeah, kind of nuts, and people wanted us to get JJ. JJ looked good in preseason, and obviously out for the year, but like. I think I kind of do like what Joe Shane did. Like, if we didn't get those top three, getting Malik Neighbors, as you can see, and I just want to say this before we move on because I mean it's Malik Neighbors is like top 2, 3 in almost every single category. He's number one in receptions with 35. He's number one in targets too with 52, which is the most by 9 targets. He's second in
Yeah.
yards, with 86. And like I said, he is tied for first in 20+ yard plays with 7. And then Yak, he's
Who's
tied
he
with
tied with on that stat?
with a big
Meta.
let's see, big. We have actually there's 3 other players. You got Juwan Jennings, Nico
Yeah.
Collins, and Jaden Reed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which honestly, Juwan Jennings, man, is stepping up, dude. I'll tell you.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah,
I always liked him and especially when they're healthy as wide receiver 3. Holy smokes.
yeah,
That's
I know. I
that's
feel like
nice.
he's been like hidden in on that team. Like, I mean, he always has those explosive plays, but like when he's the number one option,
Yeah.
he's been
Yeah,
going
he's a good
off.
player.
But yeah, I mean, Malik Neighbors, I think has demonstrated with Daniel Jones, nonetheless. And everybody's like, imagine if he didn't have Daniel Jones. He's playing damn good with Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones is doing a great job of getting the ball to him. I'm not gonna lie though, if you're watching the plays, there are, like I said, like if you want to nitpick, like sometimes he doesn't lead him, and if he let him, he'd maybe get a touchdown. Instead, he has to like adjust, slows down, and gets tackled. But like, I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
getting a little nitpicky. If he can get the ball to Malik Neighbors, that's enough to stay competitive. And I mean, for the fourth week in a row, Malik Neighbors is essentially our entire offense, and everybody else is just like secondary. Wandale Robinson, check down
Yeah.
artist, like so. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's enough on that game. Anything else you want to say before we move on to your Philadelphia Eagles?
No. Yeah, not really.
Yeah, I feel like that was enough. It was yeah, I'm hurt. But this one actually made me feel a little bit better. The Philadelphia Eagles almost die of heat stroke playing the Tampa Bay
Ugh.
Buccaneers in Tampa, losing 16-33. Jeremy, break it down for me. Tell me how you feel about your Philadelphia Eagles.
Um, I'll preface it with this. They didn't have their three best players playing. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson. They thought
Hmm.
that A.J. Brown practiced on Friday. They thought he'd probably be ready to go. He wasn't. I get it. It's a little it kind of sucks that like you get your hopes up when you see him practicing and then doesn't play. Lane, I guess, didn't pass the final phase of concussion protocol. Nothing you can do about that. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Um, at least I think so. I assume he didn't pass. Otherwise, if he didn't, the Eagles held him out. I don't know if that's a good move. But anyway,
Yeah,
um, they're without their three. It was always going to be a long shot, even though I still think they could have won. Um, the problem is they were just not prepared at all and completely laid an egg in Tampa Bay. Like you mentioned, Sean, 91 degrees, I think, but it felt like 107, which is hot. It was a lot of Eagles fans were there, had a lot of travel issues because of the hurricane. But they came out, they showed support, and that's what makes it even more unfortunate that they saw that clunker. Um, went down early, went down 7 points. Defensively, McFangio's bend don't break doesn't really work because they kept up giving up 7 yard catches that where Baker would just get the ball out instantly. Because why wouldn't you with the middle guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis? It keeps them irrelevant if you're getting the ball quickly, and they did. They get 7 quickly. First play of the game, uh, Jalen Hurts rolls out, has a wide open Saquon Barkley for a touchdown, and Saquon just gets behind everybody in the safety and completely misses him, throws the ball out of bounds. And yeah, as you blink your eyes, I think it was 21-0, 24-0 maybe. And defense was just bad, really bad defense. Um, they didn't adjust at all, which is crazy. McFangio sits in a booth; he's not even on the field. Uh, Nick Sirianni didn't have his team ready at all. Jalen Hurts didn't
mm,
play well. When the Eagles were kind of cooking, and it was like 30-16, and they had the ball at the Bucks 19-yard line. And you're like, okay, we can make it a one-score game. Hurts does what he does a lot and isn't aware of his surroundings at all, and fumbles the ball, gives it back to Tampa, and that was basically all.
yeah,
Tampa goes down, kicks a field goal, and that killed any form of momentum. Um, yeah, Saquon had 10 touches, 10 runs, not enough. Although it's tough. I don't know. It's tough. Like, you're down so big so early. It's going to be tough to run the ball in general, but he still should have had a few more touches, absolutely. Goddard, not enough targets. You don't have much in the receivers. Maybe go to him more. Um, yeah, it's just bad. They made Baker Mayfield look like a superstar. Like he looked
yeah.
like Tom Brady, and he's a good quarterback. Like I don't know,
He's played really well this year.
he has, and he did last year too. Towards the middle and up to the end, he does play well. if you give him time, I mean, this is like if you give any quarterbacks the time that he has, um, he'll make throws. And Evans, Godwin, that's a great duo they have, so that helps him out. Um, but oh my God, Bucky Irving, Rashawn White, it's a good backfield too. I don't know, it's tough. Like I'm sure I'm missing so much, but I've already like talked myself out of this game. But like it just so bad, so unprepared. They bring Kellen Moore, who everybody likes. He's always been good as an offensive coordinator. He's not creative at all. He doesn't do anything creative. Yet a week you knew that you weren't going to have Devontae Smith at least make do something creative. And there's not
Yeah.
that much motion. Even the motion that they do isn't that creative, isn't that interesting. I don't know. It's not good. It's different if this team is fully healthy. I get it, but injuries are part of
Yeah.
the game, and adjusting is part of the game. And good teams adjust better. I mean, again, it's you didn't necessarily have to win. Just be like more. Just play a better game. Be more intense. Like have a better game plan. Be ready to play. Be physical, like you were with the Saints. That was great. That's why, even though it was an ugly win, people are saying it's a great win, of course, because every win in the NFL is great in its own way. But they're like, they didn't play, they weren't amazing, but they played pretty well ultimately for like what they had to do. They shut down the Saints offensively, and then they figured it out in the fourth quarter offensively and scored 2 touchdowns. But in this game, it was like, oh my God.
That may all be true, Jeremy. But Jalen Hurts is paid like a top three, top five quarterback, top three. I mean, he's one of
Yeah,
the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. He's
250
2 years
mil.
removed from
Yeah.
that MVP-esque run when you guys went to the Super Bowl and ultimately lost. And
Yes.
yes, you guys are missing Devonta Smith. Yes, you guys are missing A.J. Brown. Yes, you're missing Lane Johnson. But superstar quarterbacks are supposed to overcome that, especially ones with rushing ability. You guys, I believe, didn't get a first down until the end of the second quarter on that touchdown run.
Yeah, I think around 6 minutes left in the first half. Yep.
I mean, going 3-and-out like that, like you got to make something happen. Yes, you're playing with weapons. Honestly, you're playing with weapons that you should hopefully elevate. I mean, Paris Campbell, yeah, like
Hmm.
that's not the best. Jahan Dotson, John Ross, you're talking about 3 former first and second round picks that have talent
Paris
that you
Campbell
could
too. Paris
hopefully
Campbell too
elevate.
has a lot of NFL experience, which
Yeah,
which is a good like. I mean, he's not great, but at least he has like real experience and has some success. Like that's a great practice squad guy to bring up, in my opinion.
yeah, and you got to elevate it. But instead of elevating, Jalen Hurts is playing, I would say, arguably the worst out of. I mean, I think definitively almost the worst out of all of the NFC's quarterbacks. Like, yes, Daniel Jones is missing some
Maybe.
plays, but he's not
Yeah.
turning it over like Jalen Hurts is, and that's. I mean, that's a big thing. And then on top of that, like a game like this, I mean, 158 passing yards. Yes, he gets a rushing touchdown, but he's not really elevating and making up for some of those turnover worthy plays. I mean, I
Mm.
got some turnover stats here about your boy
Oh,
Jalen Hurts,
I
the
know them.
turnover machine. Oh yeah, you know. Uh,
They're ingrained in my brain.
all right,
Go
well then
ahead
I
though.
guess
Yes.
yeah,
Go
3
ahead.
red zone turnovers this season. Great.
Yep.
9 consecutive games with a turnover. That's dating back to last season. Has a
Yeah.
turnover in every game this season. That's like, yeah, we've seen that between the fumbles and the interceptions. And 27 turnovers since the start of last season, which I think we already mentioned. He's been leading the NFL in that, I
That's
think,
the
for a
most.
few
Yep.
weeks now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's that strip sack was avoidable. Like that was something that
Yeah.
was Daniel Jones was chastised for, and everybody called him trash. I don't think Jalen Hurts is getting, and maybe in Philadelphia you guys are giving him the deserved hate, but I don't think nationwide it's not come to the attention like somebody like Daniel Jones, who is just completely just ragged on. I feel like in all of the
Yeah.
media. I haven't seen as much about Jalen Hurts. I'm sure. What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts? Like, are you worried about him going forward? Do you think this is just a fluke? Because early in his career with the Eagles, he was kind of a turnover machine as well, and then he kind of corrected it, and obviously had that transcendent run, and I think A.J. Brown was a catalyst of that as well. But how do you see Jalen Hurts going forward? Are you questioning him as your quarterback of the future?
Oh, totally.
Having
He doesn't protect the ball. He doesn't get he has the most talent around him in the NFL, maybe, especially in Eagles history with McNabb, who had nobody, would still have success. Carson Wentz didn't have anybody to throw to, and now you
yeah,
have you Jalen Hurts. It's not a bad thing to have weapons, but it just I don't know. Yeah, you definitely have questions about him going forward. He's not that accurate. He doesn't run as well as he used to, which was such a dynamic that he needs to complement his game because his arm isn't gonna do you enough ultimately if he can't move, if he can't run like as a as a good runner. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm concerned. He doesn't seem to get the importance of holding on to the football, and yeah, it's just not. I've always been concerned. His Super Bowl year was great. That sort of left a lot of doubt. But as a fan, you want to see consistency. You want to see, uh, you know, more repetition in how he played a Super Bowl year. And last year wasn't there. He wasn't that good last year either, relatively. And this year you're seeing sort of the same thing, but worse. Uh, it's not good. I don't know. And they have like uh, who was their I forget uh their quarterback coach. Good coach. His son is actually the quarterback at LSU right now. Nussmeier
Taylor
maybe.
Moss.
They're
Oh,
yeah, they're bringing
that's all right.
yeah, they're bringing good like coaches for him. And I don't know, it just doesn't like it's not like translating with it. He doesn't seem to get it. He just
Yeah,
turns
yeah.
it over. He's not making plays like he used to. Super Bowl year. I don't. Yeah, I'm concerned. I don't know. Yeah, it's concerning.
And I mean, honestly, too, like your defensive line or your offensive line rather. Um, Obviously missing Lane Johnson, but looked a little weak, and I feel like also Jalen Hurts was probably the recipient of that as well. You know, like
I thought the
they
line. Yeah,
only
I
had a
thought the line. I thought the line wasn't amazing, but I thought they were. I thought they were good enough, especially with uh, a backup in Fred Johnson. There, the issue is with when you have backups in your offensive line. If you have to throw the ball, these offensive line players, tackles especially, are usually better when they run because run blocking is just different than pass blocking as a tackle. You throw as many times as the Eagles did and not run with Saquon, it's just going to be harder for them, which is difficult. But yeah, Jalen held the ball too long in the pocket and got sacked several times. Bowles has his number with the Eagles in general.
yeah.
Todd Bowles, that is. But the Bucks had 2 sacks going into the game. I think they finished with like 5 or 6. Not
Yeah,
good.
6. Yeah, they did have 6 sacks. Yeah,
6.
that's what I'm
Um,
saying. Like, and it was like on the interior as well. I mean, Vita Vea, who's a beast, and then Levante
yeah,
David, that's obviously like a seamed up.
yeah.
But yeah,
The sack fumble. And the thing is too, like Jalen doesn't show any emotions. He never smiles. And it really begs the question, like, does he give a fuck? I don't like he never smiles. It's just and that's not like the end of the world kind of stuff, but like I don't know if he cares. He got paid.
yeah,
Everything was great before he got paid. Then he gets paid and it's like his play drops off. I don't know.
yeah. That emotionlessness. I mean, I guess it's better than having like Daniel Jones, who looks just like sad and defeated half the time. So I guess
Yeah,
that's
it's different, I guess. Both aren't fun, but like I don't know. You're the
yeah,
quarterback. You
emotionally.
gotta lead this team. You gotta talk to them on the sideline. You gotta get
Yeah,
in. You gotta get in with them if they're not playing. Not be like not be crazy, but like you just gotta like I don't know. It's weird
gotta
because
fire
like
up the team.
leadership always used to be all you heard from Alabama, all you heard out of Oklahoma was this guy's a leader. This guy is amazing with leadership. And in some ways you see it. In some ways you saw it early on in his career with the Eagles. In some ways you're still seeing it a little bit, but not that much. If you're the leader, lead this team against Tampa with your play. Didn't see that.
Yeah.
Didn't see much with the Saints the first 3 quarters. Obviously, they
Yeah.
figured something out, and it's a good win.
Yeah, but
But
that was also a little bit of Saquon help too. And I think,
yeah, no doubt, no
I mean,
doubt.
Saquon was still your game factor in this game. Like, definitely your
Oh
best
yeah,
offensive player by far.
broke out that run to start the second half, and
Yeah.
you're back in it. Yeah, it's just I don't know. Siri and everybody like Sirianni's done a bad job. Don't get me wrong. It's more than Nick Sirianni though. If he
Yeah.
isn't calling the offense, it has to go to Kellen Moore too. Nick Fangio doesn't adjust whatsoever. Gives up 1,000 points against the Bucks in the first half. It goes on him too. Jacoby Dean can't make a tackle. He missed 20. Avante Max can't cover. He missed 20 tackles as well. Oh, it's bad. Slay had a bad game.
Hey, Bryce
I'm
Huff got his
okay.
first tackle though.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Bryce. That is true. That is comical. Um,
Yeah, I think it's
Slay
funny.
wasn't great, but Slay also had to cover Evans for a good bit of the
Yeah.
game, and he's not good covering bigger receivers. Quinyon Mitchell played great. I mean, he's been such good for him. I'm so happy. Like the Eagles just have not had a confident young corner uh, ever, really, and he's beyond. He is more than competent. He's been playing great football. So that's been a bright spot. Um, Isaiah Rogers blocked a punter, blocked a Bucks player to Cooper DeJean on a punt. Eagles fumble, lose the ball. I don't know if you saw that play.
Yeah, yeah.
Rogers at the end of the game goes, "I didn't know the rules. I thought you could do that." And at first, I'll be honest. At first, I thought that's a silly rule um, because anybody can just fling themselves into a punt returner and like
Yeah.
quote unquote get pushed. Like if I'm a gunner, what I would do is just lean into like a guy like Rogers and like push into the punt returner.
Flop into the returner,
I
yeah.
think the rules. Yeah, I think the rules a little iffy still. I get the rule though ultimately, and Rogers admitted that he's made the mistake. I mean, it kills my argument too. So that
Yeah.
was bad. Yeah, Eagles just bad, just undisciplined, just not smart. It's always the same, you know. That goes down to coaching too on Sirianni, obviously. So um, it's just bad. I don't know how you don't prepare for a game, especially after you had to play extremely well against the Saints because you were so embarrassed against Atlanta. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Just bad.
Well, at least you guys have a bye week to kind of regather yourselves and get healthy and maybe turn some things around. I don't know how you feel. I
Bye
don't
week.
love the early buys, but
I don't love them either, but this team needs it for health and for and mentally too. So yeah, it's not great. When we heard about the bye week 5, when it announced, I said that's awful. But health wise and mentally, they need it. So you gotta take it. Just wish they had it a little later too in the season, but alas,
I mean,
you know.
honestly, though, like you said, I think this is actually probably the best time based on
Yep.
injuries
Yeah.
and how Jalen Hurts has been playing mentally to
Oh yeah.
regroup. But I would say between Vic Fangio kind of failing as the defensive coordinator thus far this season, I
Yeah.
would say he's ultimately been a failure. Like, yes, he played a good game against the
Yeah.
Saints, but if you look at the whole,
And and not to be
not great.
and not to like
Yeah.
not to be so drastically different from Saints and then going on to uh Bucks. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's both of those offensive have been like explosive offenses. They're a little
Yep.
different, but like the Bucks and the Saints have been like the two like wow leaders. Like Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr have been like superstars this far, aside
Tomorrow.
from last
Yeah.
week. But it's kind of, I mean, it's obviously different, but yeah, I mean, even on the ground, I mean, you guys let up, 100 yards between Bucky Irving and Rashad White. Well,
They got
98 yards.
no push in the middle,
Yeah.
missed so many tackles against the run. It was just awful. Yeah. It's
Yeah. And
just you just can't win when you start guys like N'Kobe Dean who's 5'2", Avonte Maddox who's 2'8". It's just too small. It's too small. They can't tackle because of their size. They can't cover either. I give like N'Kobe. It would be nice if he could cover a little bit, but as a linebacker, it's tough. But his inability to cover just kills his team. Avonte is a cornerback who can't cover. That should be the title of a book that he writes. A cornerback
yeah.
that can't cover at all. Avonte Maddox.
Well,
Brutal.
okay.
And he can't
So
tackle
why
either.
isn't Cooper
And he has no
DeJean
speed
getting?
either. What's
These
that?
are my questions. Why isn't Cooper
Yes.
DeJean getting
That's a good
Avonte
question.
Maddox?
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
don't
I don't
like.
know.
I mean, I guess you guys want to use him as like a safety hybrid, but Reed Blankenship and I think C.J. Gardner Johnson are way more of like stalwarts at their position. Like
We don't
they
even
play well.
use Cooper as a safety.
That's what I'm.
The only
Well, yeah.
chance that
Like
the only
it
chance that
doesn't
he
make
would have to
sense.
play would be the slot corner position, which everybody signed me up. And they play Avonte Max. I don't know why. I don't know why he made the team in the first place. I remember when he made the team, I literally said to a lot of people, this is a drastic mistake. He's not good. He's small. He's slow. He can't tackle. Uh, he's injury prone and he's up there in age. What does that help us with? And it just showed how, uh, you know, how it's cost his team.
And honestly,
Yeah, a guy
I
like
don't know
Cooper.
yeah, dude, Cooper DeJean, who like is everybody's between him and Quinton Mitchell, they saw those two as the two best corners in this draft,
Oh yeah,
debatably.
yeah.
Cooper DeJean obviously falls, but yeah, he should, especially with the way that Avonte Maddox has been playing. I think you got to put Cooper DeJean in there. And then Devin White, is he still injured? What's the deal with Devin White, or is he just
Yes, it's not a great situation. Uh,
yeah?
he hates the Eagles. He liked a post of Levante David strip sacking Jalen Hurts. Um, he said he meant to, I guess, emphasize it because that's his boy. It's not good. Both sides hate each other. Um, it's tough because one, um, Devin White's getting $4 million regardless. So calm down a little, Devin. You'll be okay. You're making money just to sit out. I get that you want to play, but like you're still being, you got $4 million guaranteed. And if you're the Eagles, though, I think you have to. I'm not kidding. I think you have to start Devin White because N'Kobe D was that bad on Sunday. It's not a great situation because Devin White and the Eagles like hate each other, but holy smokes, he was out. He was out against the Bucks for quote unquote personal reasons. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you can make up reasons why you don't play. Obviously, you don't have to play as a
Yeah.
team. You don't have to play anybody on your team, and it can be for whatever reason. I just don't know if it is quote unquote personal reasons or if it's just because they don't have a spot for him right now because they don't trust him and they don't think he can help them whatsoever. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I mean,
Um, but
he
it's a
has
good
his
it's a good
weaknesses,
question for
but
sure.
yeah, if N'Kobe Dean is struggling as much as he is, I mean, I feel like you always just kick the tires. Like I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's personal reasons, so not too
It's
much
a
to dig
shame
in
too
there. But
because Nicobe's been okay this year too, and then the Bucks. It's like I don't know if it's overreacting, but it's like you just you can't put that out there. You can't have a guy miss a dozen tackles in a game. Oh my god.
especially a linebacker, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of an important role for you, especially
Yep.
if you're struggling in coverage as well. But let's get to this final game here,
Mm,
and even though it was a blowout, I think still one of the more exciting games of the week. Uh, the Washington Commanders go to Arizona, and Jayden Daniels and his Commanders win 42-14. And I think I'll say it. I think the Commanders, thus far, given what we've seen, best team. I mean, the record-wise, best team in the division. But offensively, like
right.
I said earlier, I think they are playing the most cohesively. Yes, Jayden Daniels kind of had kind of a a boring game 3 weeks ago against the Giants, but the past 2 weeks he's kind of unlocked it. He's been playing like the rookie of the year. He's been playing like a great quarterback. He has one of the highest completion percentages ever. I think he has more game-winning drives. Yeah, there is a stat here. Has led to Commanders to more scoring drives, 23, than he's thrown incompletions, 19.
Right, I
That is
saw
crazy. But also that's easy to do when if you don't see anything, you can just run the ball and run it
that. True.
effectively. Because he had
He's
8
great.
runs
Yeah.
for 47 yards. Yeah, just like I said, or he can escape a sack too. Like he's been great. He had a great game with Olamide Zaccheaus, former Eagle.
Olamide Zaccheaus, yes, very good.
Yeah. And Jeremy McNichols had a resurgence, which honestly didn't really know he was on the team. To be,
yeah, didn't know he was still in the NFL.
Really great game. Yeah, and Brian Robinson too. I feel like he was slept on, but Brian Robinson, I feel like really fits this team. He's a hard runner. He is a factor somewhat in the receiving game. Yeah, the Jayden Daniels is looking transcendent for this Commanders team. I mean, putting up 42 points is against the Cardinals.
Pretty accurate too.
Very accurate, yeah.
Yeah.
On top of all that, and they finally punted since the first time since week 1.
Crazy.
Which I think was like the longest streak ever. I think it was like maybe it was 19 tries. It excluded kneel downs for ending the game. But that is
Mr. Punter. Is it still Tress Way?
I believe it is Tress Way. Yeah,
He's been there a minute.
Yeah, but even defensively, locking up like a relatively good Arizona Cardinals team, like I'd say. I mean, Kyler Murray's explosive. James Conner is still efficient. Marvin Harrison was held to 5 receptions, 45 yards, and a touchdown. It happened early. Greg Dortch, for some reason, is still getting his play as one of the shortest and most explosive players in the league. Yeah. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this? Do you agree that Jayden Daniels right now is the best quarterback in the NFC East?
Oh yeah, by light years, absolutely.
Yeah,
no question about it. My biggest thing in terms of quarterbacking, if that's the correct term, if you're accurate, I'm very happy because accuracy means you're moving the ball. It means the other team isn't getting the ball, and it really means that times 10 to both degrees of that comment, or those points. And he's accurate. He's like 82%, which is crazy. He won't end it with 82%. I think it helped early on when like 12 of his completions were those around the line of scrimmage like throws that were kind of that easy enough, but. Alas, 82% is crazy. 26 for 30 is a wild stat. He started down the field more. I will pump the brakes on Washington a little bit. They haven't really beat a good team. Going into Cincinnati and beating the Bengals on Monday Night Football is impressive a little bit. I don't think the Bengals are good, though. And so that dampens it a little bit. I'll give them that. They beat the Giants, which not the most impressive thing. And they also didn't really play well against the Giants either, in my opinion, too. They beat the Cardinals, not a great team in my opinion. So we'll see. They're certainly doing a lot right on offense, and they're a team to note for sure. And Daniels has been playing great football. I just want to see a little more. That's why it's tough, like in terms of like a review over the first 4 weeks, a quarter into the season. It's just so early. And like I was saying earlier, and I'll make this point now, teams just start off slower than good teams start off slower nowadays than like 10 years ago, just because they're not playing the preseason. Teams are a little more conservative. It's just sloppier. You mentioned earlier, Sean, with quarterback stats. They're not throwing for touchdowns like they used to, yardage, etc. Maybe because they're still getting their feet, wet in a sense because of lack of opportunity during preseason or
And the
whatever.
too high safety.
Um,
Too high safety.
yeah, well, that too. Yeah, that's who made that point. Someone, someone said, "Get rid of the too high state." I forget who it was. It was like an old
Uh,
time like football guy.
I mean, well, that's what they did with Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes transcended his offense. Andy Reid changed up the offense once
Yeah,
again
well,
to make up for the too high safety. So, I mean, that's you
no
got to
doubt.
adjust. You got to adjust. You
You
can't
got to
just
adjust. It helps
yeah.
if you have one of the best coach in the NFL history and the best person to ever touch a football in NFL history, and Mahomes too. But no doubt you have to adjust. Too high safety makes it difficult for sure. Um, but yeah, I think it's early for Washington. We'll see going forward. They're certainly passing the test the first 4 weeks by a lot. Um,
Yeah.
I just am not convinced in the long run for them this year. But if Jayden Daniels if this is who he is, they have a bright future, no doubt.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I'm also kind of impressed this game with the defense compared to what they have been. Jonathan
Yeah,
Allen had a great game. Holding Kyler Murray to only one rushing attempt and 3 rushing yards, I think, says a lot about the defense too.
hmm
Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu combined for a sack. Dorrance Armstrong still proves to be their best edge rusher, which on paper going into the year, that's kind of how it looked. And I think he has, what, 3 or 4 sacks on the season this far? He has 2 sacks. I'm kidding.
hmm
um, but yeah, it was definitely more of an impressive game because, like, this Cardinals team, especially going down big to the Commanders, you'd think would be a little bit more explosive in the air. Like, they were down without Trey McBride, podcast legend Trey McBride. But,
yes,
like, Marvin Harrison has been kind of unimpressive through the first 4 games. Like, he's had some
yeah.
explosive plays, but, like, I mean, even like a lot of the analysts are saying, like, he just doesn't look as twitchy and as fast and like that next gear that he did. As everybody said, he's like the best prospect since Calvin Johnson. I just, you know what? Maybe it's good that we beat the Eagles in the last game of the season last year because that put us out of position to get Marvin Harrison and into position to get Malik Neighbors. So thank you, Eagles.
Well, again,
Thank you so much.
we're being silly right now. It just take 4 weeks, and
It's
that's
early.
why.
Yeah, it
Well,
is. It's four
yeah,
weeks into the season. You're totally right. Yeah, I mean,
I still like. I mean, I still like what I've seen from Marvin Harrison.
yeah, I mean, me
Like,
too. It's not like by any means that he's had a bust. Like he doesn't. He still looks like deserving of a top 5. I mean, he hasn't really lived
yeah,
up to it,
he,
but he hasn't
he
done anything
scored
to make me
too.
think. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did score early on. That was a part of my parlay, dude. Brian Robinson,
there you
Marvin
go.
Harris touchdown, and then I
All
just needed
right.
Zach Ertz to have 25 yards, and he just couldn't get it. Zach Ertz, come on, man. But yeah, I just like you said, it's early, but Jayden Daniels, the numbers, the stats, the rating, the efficiency, the accuracy. I mean, I just want to see him continue because last week was like his coming out party. Before that, like he didn't play poorly, but he didn't play exceptional. And then
Right.
2 weeks of essentially exceptional quarterback play, I would say.
Yeah, I
Did have
agree.
that interception, but it's exciting to see how he'll grow on this moving forward. Any other thoughts you have about this game, Jeremy, before we get into?
Yeah, Washington. There's certainly there was a SmackDown. I didn't watch much of it, but they got a lot of guys involved on offense, which I think is interesting because both of us, I think, would agree before the season that offensively, losing Dotson, losing Samuel, it could be a struggle for them, for Daniels too, just because he doesn't have as much talent to work with, and he's certainly using what he has in a positive way, getting different people involved. So, and that's with the offense that I don't even think is that good. So imagine if he gets some better players around him.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, still, like, his number 2 wide receiver behind Terry McLaurin is Alameda Zacchaeus. Alameda,
Yes,
yeah. And I mean, like, Noah
Lamine.
Brown, who I think Noah Brown is underrated, but still,
I agree. Yeah,
uh,
no doubt. Yeah,
yeah. And honestly, seeing how inefficient Jahan Dotson has been on the Eagles, I guess maybe it wasn't as outrageous of a trade as we all thought it was. I mean, like you
yeah,
said, still
possibly.
early,
I think you
but
got to see what he's like after the bye ultimately, just because of it's difficult to be traded that late into the training
the
camp in
preseason, yeah.
in preseason. So we'll see. But yeah, yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts before we get into our fantasy recap, Jeremy?
No.
All right. So, me and Jeremy drafted an all NFC East fantasy team, and it's best ball format, half PPR. So that means they're all players from the NFC East. And our teams consist of the best quarterback that we drafted, the 2 best running backs, 2 best wide receivers, best tight end, 1 flex play. Jeremy, before I get into these scores, do you have any predictions
Yes.
on how the week went?
Um, I'm gonna say you won.
I don't want to spoil it. I want to keep this up, but so I'll go through my roster first. Jayden Daniels was the better out of my 2 quarterbacks with 24.02 points.
Okay.
My running back 1 was Rico Dowdle with 12.6 points. My
There you
running back
go.
2 is Devin Singletary with 4.3 points. Thank you, Devin Singletary. My wide receiver
Mm-hmm.
1 was CeeDee Lamb with 20.1, Malik Neighbors with 17.1, Jake Ferguson with 8.4, and my flex was Wan'Dale Robinson with 13.6, putting me at a total of 100.12 fantasy points. And
Wow.
yeah, and it was a lot. Like, we've had like some pretty high scoring weeks the past few weeks, but this was kind of a down week. Plus, with all the injuries, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, and Devin Singletary being a complete dud. Your team reads as follows: the best quarterback you had was actually Dak Prescott. Was just like, I think, 0.10 points higher than Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts didn't get the
Mm,
fumble, maybe you would have had it. Dak Prescott with
mm.
16.74 points. Saquon Barkley with 12.6 points. Brian Robinson with 18.7. Terry McLaurin with 14.7. Alameda Zacchaeus with 11.5. Dallas Goedert with 9.7. And Darius Slayton with 7.1. And your final was 91.04. All right, Jeremy, take a
Mm.
shot if you got one. You got a shot?
I do not. I'm out of everything. Actually, I have to go back to go to the store.
All
What
right,
we
dude. We,
do,
we got
what
we got a tally. No, I
we
think
got,
I
we. I'm good for 2. What we do in Philadelphia, we go across the bridge to New Jersey because everything's discounted there. So I got to make a run sometime.
Hey, that's fair, man. I have like 2 liquor stores that I target specifically because the bourbon is like $15 cheaper than it is anywhere else.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
shout out Frugal McDougal here in Nashville. If you're downtown Nashville too, it's downtown. Like, Frugal McDougal is the spot to be.
That's what it's called, Frugal McDougal.
Am I frozen here? All right. So fantasy, we got to get these shots in eventually. Maybe next week. Next week should be shot week.
Yes.
So let's get to our previews here. I believe the first game of the week, with the Eagles having a bye, are the Cleveland Browns heading into the Washington Commanders. And the Cleveland Browns are 1-3, beating a 0-4 Jags team, I believe, as their only win.
Yes.
Uh,
Mm.
Deshaun Watson looking pretty
Awful.
miserable thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Still no Nick Chubb, and a rushing attack that consists of Jerome Ford and Deonta Foreman. Their defense actually hasn't been as stout and as exceptional as it has been in the past. Albeit though they've only really allowed over 21 points once to the Cowboys in week 1. But with the Commanders on this hot scoring streak, I'm very curious to see, especially with the O-line questions, which I still have. Brandon Coleman has been playing pretty well at left tackle, but Myles Garrett is still tough. I mean, Tyler Guyton did pretty well against him, the other rookie NFC East tackle, week 1, but I'm curious to see how he holds up, and I'm curious to see if, despite Myles Garrett's superstar play, if he's able to get to Jayden Daniels with Jayden Daniels' ability to escape the pressure and still make plays, either running or getting the ball out. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this game before I pull up the spread?
The Browns suck. Washington will win. It's that simple. Um, unless this is a growing pains kind of game for Washington, which I don't know. Maybe they'll have some of that this year. It's hard to sort of pick. The Browns are just awful. Deshaun Watson is awful. Their defense has picked it up a little bit, but I think it's not as amazing as thought. I guess it's still good, but yeah, they're Washington. They'll win. And
Yeah,
it'll be another game where they're not challenged.
I could see that. The Commanders are favored -3.5 at home. Over under set at 44.5. Yeah, I could see the way that the Commanders have been playing and just kind of dominating teams offensively. I say they cover this spread, and I think that Jayden Daniels continues to impress. There's still a lot of good pieces on Cleveland's defense. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit, etc. But
Myles Garrett.
that really has Myles Garrett, obviously, Dalvin Tomlinson and Zaire Smith. A lot of big names. It blows my mind. I know that Deshaun Watson has been, but this will also be another game where hopefully the Commanders can dominate defensively, despite having some weaknesses on that defense. We'll see. I mean, this is the third time that the Browns are playing an NFC East team, so we've previewed them a few times.
Yeah.
They have all these pieces, but they haven't been able to make it work this season. Jerry Jeudy has been a bust. They have guys like Elijah Moore and other great wide receivers that I like Cedric Tillman. Haven't really seen anything. Amari Cooper has been dropping the ball at an alarming rate, despite still being one of the, I'd say, top 20 wide receiver in the league still. But I think the Commanders win this one. Anything else you want to say? Any other keys to victories for these Commanders?
I guess if anything, where it becomes an interesting game is if you just have Washington offense against Cleveland's defense. I guess that'll be fun to watch throughout the game. It's just the fact that you have to see Cleveland's offense too, which makes it a downer.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll still be fun. Jayden Daniels has been fun to watch regardless. He's just one of those quarterbacks he's not just a rushing quarterback, but man, sorry, I've been kind of, that's who I wanted. I wanted Jayden Daniels, and it's, I'm happy with Malik, but, I'm happy that he's found success, even if it's on a division rival. Next game is going to be the New York Giants heading to Seattle. The spread is Seattle -6 with the over-under set at 43.5. The Seahawks just got off a close loss to the Lions. That was kind of like an offensive shootout. Geno Smith, although they really haven't had any competition thus far this season, the Seahawks, until the Lions last week where they ultimately lost. Geno Smith is still playing. Almost threw for 400 yards in that game. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They have a good run game. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are a pretty solid duo. Obviously, they have a really great receiving core. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett still has it. Jackson Smith and Jigba is it a joke, and Noah Fant, even though he's been kind of unimpressive from being a former first-round pick.
He's had moments.
Yeah, he's had moments, and then also
And
the defense.
tight end seems like a swing or miss position in the NFL these days. Now it's like
Yeah,
it's become more of a blocking position, which makes sense. But you want that extra blocker too for protection. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Well, yeah, and Fant's more of like an athletic tight end. And I
Yeah.
think I might have mentioned this on the podcast before. I did hang out with the Seahawks earlier this offseason when they came into Tennessee. So I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
tight with most of the team. But whatever. I know last I don't know the exact status of some of these players, but I know they were missing like almost their entire defensive front yesterday against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
With Leonard Williams being out and Byron Murphy being out, and then I also like half their linebackers were out. So we'll have to see there. Also, I just looked at Malik Neighbors' status. Still not totally sure where he stands in terms of. I have a feeling he's going to be playing on Sunday. I think that he'll like that concussion didn't seem out of the ordinary when it happened. It didn't seem like he got rocked. He kind of just landed poorly on trying to get a catch. And with 10 days in between, I feel like he's in a push to play. I think what I'm the most worried about, well, the other health concerns, Drew Phillips, hopefully we get him back this week. Hopefully we get Adoree Jackson back this week because Geno Smith has been an explosive passer this season. And like I said, with all those weapons, I think that's going to be the key factor is who has the more explosive plays. How much explosive plays can we limit from the Seahawks? And can Daniel Jones finally connect and get some explosive plays to Darius Slayton? Maybe Jalen Hyatt finally gets his first touchdown as a New York Giant or in the NFL. And hopefully Malik Neighbors keeps up because I think he is our entire offense. If you take out Malik Neighbors, I don't think our run game is going to be as efficient. I don't think Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be as efficient underneath. I mean, that's so Malik Neighbors is a very key factor in this game as well. Jeremy, your thoughts?
Um, Leonard Williams revenge game, assuming he plays.
And
I don't think
Julian
I'm
Love,
missing.
too.
Yeah, Julian
Julian
Love too.
Love,
There you
man.
go.
He became a Pro Bowler after leaving.
Yep, unbelievable.
Hmm.
At least Xavier McKinney doesn't look good in Green Bay after he left. Oh wait, he does. Um,
Yeah. He looks amazing. He's like the
neighbor,
best in the league. Yeah.
roll
Yeah.
tide. Yeah, Neighbors has to play. I would be very upset as a NFL fan if he doesn't. I don't think the Giants are going to win regardless. But Neighbors, he's right now. He's the one thing that gives me somewhat of a chance if I'm a Giants fan or player.
Yeah.
I
I
just
mean,
I just
it's just excitement playing or watching the game, dude. Without Malik Neighbors, I'm not going to lie.
yeah.
There's nobody on offense that really gets me
Seriously,
excited to watch,
yeah. So
Yeah.
need him to play. Hopefully he does play. Um, I just think Seattle's better. I thought they had it was a noble cause that they played last night in Detroit. Um, defensively, they have to play better, of course, but going against the Giants, who offensively uh, are inept in a lot of ways and just don't score touchdowns, maybe that will be a get back. And the game's in Seattle too, correct?
Yes, it is.
That's going to be tough for the Giants travel wise. For some reason, East Coast teams traveling to West Coast teams is more of a disadvantage than the other way around. Um, I mean, there's science to it and whatnot and reasons, so it doesn't make sense. But that's going to be tough. I just think Seattle offensively going to be too much for the Giants, who Giants defensively have been decent this year for sure. For what it's worth, I just think Seattle's a better team. I don't think they want to lose two games in a row. This game's at home. I think they get back and they beat the Giants. Too much
Yeah,
talent,
and
too much offensive
I,
talent, probably too much defensive talent too. especially going against the Giants offense.
No, I mean, dude, the Seahawks have an awesome defense. They have good players on every single
Yeah.
level. I mean, if they have Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, that's great. I mean, two great cornerbacks in Devin Witherspoon, who I believe had a pick six against us last year. We played the Seahawks the past two seasons.
We did,
They beat us both times. Even in that big, playoff win season for the Giants, or great season, we still succumbed to Geno Smith in the Seahawks. And they embarrassed us last year, too. Like, we looked awful. And the defense got the best of Daniel Jones. This season is looking like I said, looks a little bit better for Daniel Jones with Malik Neighbors. But, yeah, I'm still I'm not confident. But you know what? I am confident. Shane Bowen is actually, despite some of the weaknesses on our defense, and even though, we haven't played amazing, I mean, he held the Commanders, who have been so explosive on offense, to 0 touchdowns.
Yes.
Held a Cowboys team who usually destroys us offensively to only 20 points. I think there's a way where he schemes this up and maybe takes advantage of some of Geno Smith's weaknesses. But yeah, I don't know. I'll take the Giants +6 because I think we're going to be close, but I don't feel too confident about winning this game.
I think I'll take the Giants +6 too. Just a big number. And yeah.
Yeah. Anything else about this game? Because honestly, I feel like we kind of covered it, especially with all the question marks health wise. I don't really know how much. Into that.
What time is this game being played? 4:25.
3:25. 4:25 Eastern time. 3:25.
Right, got it.
My time.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's nice if you want to watch all the NFC East games. You can watch them all 12. Mid and
and then Sunday night. Yeah. You're right.
Sunday night, which the Dallas Cowboys are +2.5 in Pittsburgh. The Steelers, who finally lost a game behind Justin Fields, going 3-1 in a close game against the Colts. But I mean, hey, when you face Joe Flacco and the Colts, man, like, you're kind of expecting a tough game. The Steelers defensively have been amazing, and I hope that continues against these Cowboys. And the Cowboys, yes, they won against the Giants. The Giants, I feel like, are weaker in a lot of ways. Also, yes, the run defense picked up for the Dallas Cowboys, but Arthur Smith and the Pittsburgh Steelers love to run. Najee Harris hasn't been amazing this season. We got Najee. You got CPAT. I think Cordero Patterson's still – I feel like he might be iffy. But Cordero Patterson, you have Jaylen Warren, all three capable backs running the ball. And then you have what some people say is a fourth running back in Justin Fields, who can also run the ball. I could see the Cowboys winning this game, definitely. I could see – give me 1 second. Cool. You hear me?
Yep.
I don't see this game being like an easy win for the Steelers, and honestly, I don't have complete faith in the Steelers. Like, they're 3-1, but they beat the Falcons, the Broncos, and the Chargers, who all look like flawed teams, and the Colts, who have looked amazing this year. They played a close game too. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this game, Jeremy?
It's in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, Sunday night.
We'll see. Again, it's Pittsburgh coming off of a loss to the Colts. I don't think they want to lose a second game, especially at home. Sunday night. Defensively, they should be in it. It was interesting last week because with the Colts, offensively, they were pretty solid with Fields, which is offensively hasn't been their strengths, I'd say, going into the year. And defensively, they weren't great against the Colts when that has been. It should be a good game. I think it's a coin flip, honestly, with it being in Pittsburgh. But yeah. What's the line?
+2.5 for Dallas.
Darn, I hate that number.
Yeah, I know. It's like I would buy points if I'm betting on that. I feel like it's
Right.
just kind of a waste to
I
get
guess
points
I'll
to
go
it.
Dallas cover. Give them the field goal at least. I think that they're, although they played so poorly this year, I don't know. It's a coin flip, honestly. Yeah, it should
Yeah,
be should
honestly,
be should be a good game. Two historic teams still going at it. So, yeah,
I just as much as I feel like Dallas can win this game, I don't think the Steelers are that good. I think the Steelers' strengths, though, play very
yeah.
well to the Cowboys' defenses
Good point.
or weaknesses. Like
Yeah,
I said, like the good defense, like great defense. Like Dak doesn't play well under pressure. I think T.J. Watt is going to give Tyler Guyton some struggles. I mean, Tyler Guyton really struggled with Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, Kayvon
yeah.
just got that one sack, except there was a bunch of holding calls on Tyler Guyton,
Right.
false starts. Like he was, and as much as I love Kayvon athletically, T.J. Watt is like, reigning defensive player of the year, I believe, or
Oh yeah.
defensive player of the year. Yeah, I think Myles Garrett was it last year, but still.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and it's also I think if it comes down to coaching too, I'd much rather have
yeah,
Tomlin than McCarthy. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know.
and also like the Cowboys. I mentioned this earlier, but the Cowboys' run defense stepped up against the Giants, but that was with Devin Singletary, and I know
Right.
Najee Harris hasn't been the best, but Arthur Smith is going to try to run the ball down their throats, and I don't think he's another band with the
Warren's
run.
been good. I think Dallas game plan for the Giants run game, which just doesn't have much. There's not much versatility. There's not much ability. And like I said, Singletary's good, but if you shut him down, I don't think it's as hard as other running backs. So I think
Yeah,
it'll be tough for Dallas to keep on replicating that defensive effort against the run going forward. And yeah, with the Steelers, with Najee, with Warren, Fields, it'll be tough to contain that.
yeah. I think that's. I'm actually going to go Steelers here. I don't
I think
know.
we're
I
gonna
think
go
Steelers at
Steelers
home,
too.
and like I said,
Yeah.
I don't know that we like. Listen, I watched the Cowboys play the Giants, and I don't think the Giants are very good, and the Cowboys won, and
Cowboys didn't play well against the
didn't
Giants
really
either.
look
Yeah.
didn't really look that amazing. And also, I we haven't even talked about it, but Joey Porter Jr. has been playing really well too, and I'm curious to see. I don't know if they'll put him in the slot, but they still also have their safety. I think it's Alabama safety.
Minka.
Minka Fitzpatrick, yeah, Minka
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick too, who I think could also play a big role defensively.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
That should be
Anything
an
else about
interesting
the
game.
Cowboys? Yeah,
Yeah, it should be
I'm kind
good.
of excited to see the game.
Right. I don't always feel that way about games that a lot of people are hyping up, but this seems intriguing. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I think that just about wraps it up. If you're still watching, guys, please like and subscribe. Please tell us how great we are. Tell us how awful we are. Tell us how great and awful our takes are. But, stay with us. We're going to be having fun. We're having a good time. And see you next time.
Would be nice if our team started winning a little more.
Yeah. Don't lose hope, guys. Don't lose hope. The Giants are going to turn around. The Eagles will.
Eagles maybe lose hope. If we're still
Yeah.
hurt, lose hope, Eagles.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm being optimistic with the Giants, but I don't feel too confident this year. But we'll see. All right, next time.